We decided to get the bank after we moved into our home, which is right across the street. We started it as a wedding venue at the very beginning, and then over the course of a few months of doing that, we had people that used to stay for their honeymoon night in our cottage. And then we had a friend suggest to us that there's a app out there called Airbnb, and we took that and said, well, we'll give it a shot. So we opened up that as Airbnb. It did exceedingly well. So then we started transforming other things on our property or nearby to make more Airbnbs. And then we noticed looking out our windows every day that the downtown of Newmarket was just falling apart and vacant. And there's one of them we're standing in or sitting in now called the Bank that was just vacant and empty and falling apart. And we said, well, why don't we take that and try to transform it into Airbnb and bring some life and revitalization to the neighborhood. And so it just kind of was like a snowball effect of one little suggestion of, would you ever think about doing Airbnbs or short-term rentals at your property or any, went from that to exploding into a full-on business that we have now out here in Newmarket.
And that was how long ago?
That was probably over at the very beginning. It was about 8 years ago, but we probably started the bank, I think, about 3 years ago.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so this one's relatively new compared to some of the others.
Yeah, and has it been received? Are most of the people who come to stay here, are they from the area, just going for a weekend away, or are they people coming in from out of town?
No, it's the full gamut with people that visit. It could be anybody from, they're going here just to stay for an anniversary stay, or they're coming from Nashville and they just want to get away out of town but not go all the way to the beach or far out in the mountains or something like that. So just like short, quick getaways. Or it could be something where somebody needs temporary housing while they're building a house, or they're here for a contract job for a few months and they just need somewhere to stay. So it could be anything from the 2-night visit on an anniversary to a 3-month stay, depending on the terms of what they're trying to accomplish. And we get all of it all the time. We're fortunate to be booked frequently, if not consecutively, all month, every month.
I forgot to turn my internal mic on just in case that one dies.
Yeah, you're good.
There we go. All right, so talk about that. How many people? You've got quite a lot of properties in the Newmarket area. You said people you're booked consecutively. How's it been received? How do people react when they walk into a place like this? This isn't Joe Schmo's apartment that's being rented out for a weekend when somebody's coming into town. Kind of different. How do people react when they first walk into the place and they tell you about their experience?
Yeah, so the general thing is people get here, it's usually like, oh, how do you check in? What do we do? That kind of thing. It's kind of correspondence you get. And then as soon as they get here, we get a notice that they've checked in, or they'll just say, wow, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. And how unique and different the property is. And that's our intentions and complete goal, is to create a space that's cozy, welcoming, and completely different. So it's a unique experience. Because you could go stay at the Westin or the Holiday Inn or any of these major corporations and hotels that do a fantastic job of offering hospitality in any way. But what we try to do is create a hospitality in a unique scenario so that you can go somewhere that's just right outside of Huntsville, but have a full-on experience that's different. For example, at the bank that we're sitting in now, you can come here, walk in the door, see 15-foot original tin ceilings, go eat dinner in the actual bank vault. That kind of thing. It's just very rare and unique to what we try to accomplish, and give people as an opportunity to come and experience something rather than just have a hotel to stay in for the night.
And what was the goal in trying to keep a lot of the nostalgic feel of the bank itself?
Yeah, exactly. That is the goal, is to create a nostalgic experience, something that feels unique and different. When you walk in, you don't think, oh, this used to be an old bank that they just transformed into some place to stay. We want you to walk in and go, how did they make this work? Where everything still has the same integrity, which is probably the right word for it. Is we wanted to make sure that everything was kept in renovation to be restored, or kept its integrity to what it was, not necessarily just replaced and renovated. So that is our goal, yes sir, is to make sure that any elements that we can keep raw and real and true to its time period, we try to keep those so that it's not like walking into a brand new space. You get to walk back into time.
How much of it's original?
The majority of it's original. There's only a few things we really change at every property that we work on, in particular the bank. We try to keep most of the flooring. All of the walls are the same, the old plaster. There's even some broken down pieces where we did some deconstructed elements to let you see what's behind those walls. And since it was kind of flaking off anyway, we just kind of molded it into a fashion that would make sense for that area. All the bank area, bank vault areas are original, all that kind of stuff. So the core pieces are all real, and then the only things we've added are like these beds and a couple of walls here and there to divide property, but that's about it. So typically when we do a property like this that we take from beginning to end, it can take anywhere from 6 months to a year. This one, we've done it in as small and short of a time frame as 6 weeks, but with the bank being such a large property that needed so much nuanced work, it took nearly a year to go from the day we bought it to the day we were open for somebody to come visit. So the typical stretch again is somewhere between like 6 months to a year to fully renovate and get a property ready for visits.
Yeah. The bank itself, when was it last operational?
I think it was about 40 years ago when the bank was operational. It went from a bank in, unfortunately, 1926, and then the Great Depression hit right after that, so the bank didn't last that long. And then sometime after that, it became a hair salon. So on the far wall where we have a TV and different things on one side, there was just stalls for hair washing and cleaning and cutting and all those things. So when we got it, that's what it was left as, and that had been several to dozens of years before, from the time that happened to when we got it. So it was in pretty rough shape when we picked it up. There's a little fern growing in the corner and leaks everywhere, windows busted out, the floor was covered in trash. It was a disaster. But that's what happens when something's not touched and left to the elements for 30 years or so.
So when you bought the place, what did it look like back here on the quote-unquote teller side?
Yeah, it was a disaster, honestly. There was nothing here. The walls weren't here at the time. So we recreated all the walls. We found the teller windows and we put those back in based on photos that we received from some of the people that live nearby. They showed us what it looked like before. So we recreated the walls to be similar to what they were. Because again, prior to that, it was just an open, degraded space, if that's the word, where it was just trash and mold and everything. There was no bathroom back here, or if there was, it was very small and unusable. And then the vaults were all empty and full of stuff, so or full of dirt. So we took it all, we transformed it, built the wall, and made it to where it was a functional dividing space so that you can have like a living area in the front, and then your kitchen and bathrooms and vault for a dining room and all that kind of stuff in the back.
So this wall wasn't here when you bought the place?
No, sir. Yeah, it was pretty much empty, falling apart building when we got it. So we recreated this element of it to fit what it used to be as a true bank instead of just leaving it open, room.
So the teller's quarters, that's what it's called, right?
Yes,
so
sir.
why would somebody be staying here?
Well, we really try to sell the ambience and like the feel of the natural old, like the bricks falling off the wall and the walls that are ruined after 40 years of being exposed to the elements when the windows were busted out. So the goal is to stay in some place that's super unique, that's very cozy and intimate is the selling point with this one, since this is where the tellers or a security guard used to stay, and they would watch the bank. This is right in front of us here, and there used to be an access between where the bathrooms are now. So the tellers would stay here, or a security guard would stay here in the tellers' quarters and watch the bank. So we try to make it to where you can have the experience of being behind the bank vault, have all the interesting elements that would be staying in a bank, but all the facilitation of like an apartment.
Yeah. Watching the bank off hours in case of a robbery?
Yes, sir. Yes. And so they would be here overnight to watch it when the bank wasn't open, just to make sure nothing happened, and then be able to open it in the morning and get it going, all that kind of thing.
So they weren't sleeping here; they were staying up in case they heard.
Yeah. So this was, and you hear something, glass fall in another room, you need to go over there and check it out.
Yeah.
But this had been an apartment for the security guards or a bank teller, back in 1926 when it opened up. And we decided to bring that back and leave it as much as it used to be as humanly possible. And so that when you walk in, you feel like you're taking a step back in time rather than just walking into something new and finished.
That music, it takes up a lot of time. What's it mean to the two of you to have these places and share them with people?
Oh, it's invaluable to us. We live in the neighborhood. We live across the street. We've really invested into the New Market area. We adore the people here. We love that we get the opportunity and have been given the chance to get these older buildings that are falling apart or in need of care and be able to revitalize them and put energy back into them to bring people to the town. Even if they're coming to spend the night here and maybe eat at the restaurant or two that are across the street, that's something that's special to us. We feel rewarded getting to do that, doing something in terms of repurposing a building that had nothing going on with it. Now there's some reason to come here and visit New Market and our buildings and see the old bank or our paint shop or the grocery, and just creating like a little bit of an experience-based overnight Disneyland is kind of what we think of it. So it's just so unique and so interesting, and it's honestly just such a blessing to be able to take these properties and revitalize them into something that's worth 21st century effort.